Last night, we premiered my interview with Donald Trump. It was only about 17 minutes. The man was very busy. I am eternally grateful that they gave us the time of day so that we could sit down with the frontrunner for the 2024 presidential election. This interview took place moments before Donald Trump was set to speak at the Libertarian National Convention. He did. He called for the Libertarians to nominate him for their presidential candidate. They did not. Instead, the Libertarians, quote, select gay, Antifa-loving, Trump-hating, vaccine mandate-supporting, open borders enthusiast as their presidential candidate. I think this is the best outcome possible for Donald Trump. As the Mises Caucus of the Libertarian Party, they believe in closed borders. They are pro-life. They just don't like wars. They don't like the Federal Reserve. They want Julian Assange and Ross Ulbricht, Edward Snowden pardoned. There's a lot of things they don't like about the government, but they're basically Ron Paul libertarians. And now the Libertarian Party has nominated Chase Oliver, a far-left communist candidate. I'm going to show you his positions. Many in the Mises Caucus and many who are anti-war but pro-America libertarians have vowed that they will be supporting Donald Trump. In fact, one individual who called Trump supporters socialists said, with the nomination of a gay race communist, he will be supporting Donald J. Trump. Now, of course, it was Memorial Day weekend, so we were not here yesterday. The episode we did with Trump was pre-recorded, obviously. And so this is my first chance to address everything we saw at the Libertarian National Convention. The first thing I want to do before I jump right into the story is explain to all of the libertarians who are lying about Chase Oliver. He is a vaccine mandate supporter, period. Okay? He has tweeted that businesses should be allowed to mandate vaccines. Now, what these libertarians are doing, the reason libertarians, we call them, is they're saying, no, that's just private business. That's not a mandate. It literally is a mandate. Okay, opposition to mandates comes in several forms. Now, I believe my position, this is 4 years ago, mind you, 3.5 to 4 years ago, was private businesses can do whatever they want. A rather libertarian approach. However, over the past several years, in many instances, you can see that my position on this has changed dramatically. While I will say first and foremost, it is a vaccine mandate to say a business can mandate a vaccine. They're all responding going, no, he opposes government mandates. He just supports private mandates. Did you know that the majority of mandates we saw in 2020 and 2021 were not government mandates? They were private mandates. That's right. You, American voter, when you were forced by a business, by your job, by your employer to be vaccinated, it was their choice, not the government's. When music venues said you can't perform here unless you're vaccinated, the government did not make them do it. I believe in government placing restrictions on certain things. I do. And I think it's fair to say this idea that there is this principled document that will always be absolute. Listen, there is no logical system. There's a moral and logical system, and that is some things should be restricted by government and some things should not. I am not a libertarian. I lean libertarian on the political compass, meaning I tend towards freedom, but I am not a big L libertarian, and I do not just blindly think the free market shall provide. I think to a certain degree, yes. But this is a man who supports vaccine mandates. And I'll break it down even further, because I can explain to you exactly how, when you allow private corporations to mandate medical treatments, you see exactly what happens. The Post-Millennial says libertarians select gay, Antifa-loving, Trump-hating, vaccine mandate-supporting, open borders enthusiast as their presidential candidate. Well, earlier that night, Trump and RFK faced hostile reception at Libertarian Convention amid efforts to sway voters. I was able to interview RFK Jr., grateful for him giving me the time, 2 hours with RFK. And I'll tell you this about RFK Jr. When it came to issues of public health and I think this is obvious to everybody, the man has a fire within him. When talking about environmental toxins, plastics, weird garbage, pesticides, all of that trash, the dude ignites like Goku going Super Saiyan. But when it comes to the stock issues, he seems not to have any particularly good answers. He has to play that game. He's running for political office. But I think it's fair to say that it's obvious where his passions lie, and everyone knows. When it comes to the issue of abortion, he's flip-flopped. Perhaps he's had a real change of heart. He tries deflecting off of culture war issues, thinking they're not relevant. Well, they're certainly relevant to many people. And when it comes to issues of health, he really does mean it. And I absolutely agree with and respect his positions on war and health. Now, as for Donald Trump, the media across the board will tell you Trump was booed, he was booed, he was booed. Trump staffers told us outright they knew Trump was about to walk into a room and get booed heavily. This was no secret. But Trump was also cheered by the entire room on several occasions as well. It was a mixed crowd. The Libertarian, look, Trump supporters were there. That's true. But Libertarians did cheer for Trump. He said, end the wars. They cheered. He said, pardon. He's going to pardon, Ross Ulbricht. They all cheered. And then he said things like, I'm Libertarian. They boo him for this. Trump, I got to tell you guys, Trump should not have used a teleprompter. He should not. He should have just been Trump, and he would have won the crowd over like that. If I was advising Trump, I would have said, no teleprompter. No teleprompter, work the crowd, talk about what you care about, and work the crowd. I would have said, the first thing you want to do is you want to come out and say this. The first words out of your mouth, audit the Federal Reserve. And then you would see the entire room just go, yeah, and they would be screaming and cheering. All of the haters, all of the naysayers who wanted to boo you no matter what you said would have no choice but to cheer for you right away. Now imagine how the media would react to that. Trump walks out. Trump should have walked out and he should have said the libertarian things first. He should have at first said, audit the Federal Reserve. He said, if I were Trump, I would have said, I can't give you everything. In fact, there's a lot I can't give you because I know we disagree, but we can audit the Federal Reserve. We will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht. As for Julian Assange, we are taking, this is what he told me, serious consideration to his pardon. Please understand, it's not super easy, but we are here to end the wars, audit the Fed. These are things we agree on. The whole room would have lit up in explosive cheers. Instead, he comes out and he's like, Joe Biden is the worst president. And he's not wrong, but libertarians don't care about that. Libertarians don't care about that at all. Many of them probably are going to end up voting for Joe Biden. Not a whole lot, to be completely fair, but maybe a couple of them, considering that they nominated Chase Oliver. I think it's important to break that down, but let's start here. We have this. This is Jeremy Kaufman. He says, yesterday I held up this sign calling Donald Trump supporters socialists. You can see the sign he's got. It says MAGA equals socialist. Tonight, the Libertarian Party nominated a gay race communist for president. With those choices, I'm standing with Donald Trump. And how did it happen? Well, Dave Smith, comedian, funny guy, has appeared several times on this on Timcast IRL, as well as Joe Rogan, many other shows. He was the guy. Everybody thought Dave was going to be the nominee. And let me tell you, Dave Smith has got it in spades. He is tall. He has a deep voice. But he knows the issues. He's quick-witted. He would be a great candidate. Now, the reason I bring up tall and deep voices, believe it or not, those are like requirements in the TV internet era. We don't have short presidents anymore. Dave Smith's a guy who could stand next to Donald Trump. He could shake his hand and he can say, let's talk about the issues. Dave Smith is a real contender. Trump can work a crowd. That's what I'm saying. At the Libertarian Convention, I'm just thinking, how funny would it have been if Trump's up there at the podium, he's gripping the sides like he does, and they're going, boo, and he goes, they're booing. You guys, you're booing. Well, what am I going to say? I can't give you everything. He didn't work the crowd enough. Okay, it was a good speech. And he got booed, and I tremendously respect it. It's brave. It's honorable. And as Dave Smith pointed out, he is here to speak to you, libertarians, because you matter. Well, not anymore, you don't. Trump won everything. Trump won, in essence, the Libertarian convention. They could have chosen Michael Rectenwald or Josh Smith, but Rectenwald was the front runner. So let me go back. Dave Smith, many of you guys probably have seen him on Joe Rogan. This dude's a quick wit. He's funny. He's a good dude. He knows the issues. I disagree with him on a lot of things. I'm not a libertarian, but we overlap on a tremendous amount. So I think he'd be a great president. But he couldn't do it. For personal reasons, for family reasons, he said, I cannot do it. So instead, next in line seemed to be Michael Rectenwald, who is a former professor, former Marxist, who flipped, went MAGA, but libertarian. I think they say MAGA. I'm not sure. He was winning. And then a libertarian candidate by the name of Mike Termott said he would run as vice president for Chase Oliver, a far leftist, anti-supporting, pro-vaccine mandate, pro-open borders candidate, if people voted for him instead, teaming up to ice out Rectenwald and Clint Russell. And they gave it to him. And with this, the Libertarian Party took a dump on the floor and destroyed any relevance they had this election cycle. Bye. You know, it's fascinating. The Libertarians could offer up an alternative to Donald Trump. They decided not to. Some speculate the deep conspiracy is the Libertarian Party always intended to help Donald Trump. First, with the Mises Caucus, which overlaps with many conservative values as the Ron Paul types, gun rights, closed borders, pro-life. If they had chosen Dave Smith, they could have actually pulled votes away from Donald Trump. But now that they've chosen the most ridiculous caricature of a leftist, communist, well, now it all comes crashing down. The Mises Caucus, in my opinion, has no choice but to passively endorse Donald Trump. I don't expect the Mises Caucus, Michael Heiss and these individuals, to come out and say, we are calling on all of our caucus members to vote for Donald Trump. I don't see that, but it's happening anyway. I don't know if Jeremy Kauffman is a Mises Caucus guy, but he's certainly here, not a fan of Trump, now going to be voting for Donald Trump. Austin Peterson said Chase Oliver is the best Libertarian Party candidate for helping re-elect Donald Trump. The LP has just made sure all of the people in the Libertarian Party will not vote for this man. This guy is for open borders. Let me make sure. Here's Dave Smith saying, ironically, Chase winning is the best outcome for Trump this weekend, much better than a standing ovation at his speech. And then where do we have this tweet? We have it from Mays. Oh, did I just close it? Let's pull that one back up. Mays Moore says, earlier this year, Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party nominee, went to the border to advocate for open borders. With everything we've seen happening to our country because of Biden's policies, this guy is arguing to open the border even more. Naive, foolish, anti-American. And he really does. I'm not going to play the full video for you, but this is a video of Chase Oliver,
of the Libertarian Party, and I am in Nogales, Arizona, and behind this fence and razor wire is Nogales, Mexico. Actually has the exact same name. This is the same city, just two different countries.
He says people should be allowed to freely move so that they can visit, work, commerce, all of that stuff, and what he describes as an Ellis Island-style immigration policy. The Libertarian Party, this is why I don't like them, okay? Look, I like Ron Paul. I don't agree with him on everything. But I loved Ron Paul saying, like, even if we don't agree, my answer is government, leave you alone. And I'm like, done deal. You give me a president who says, I want A, B, and C from you. I go, You give me a Ron Paul who says, I want A, B, and C, but not from you. You live how you want to live. I go, okay, I like it. By all means, Ron Paul, be, pro-life, gold standard, end the Fed, all of these things. And whichever point I don't agree with you on, I get to live how I want to live. I like it. I like it. Well, this guy is open borders. You can't have a country with no border. Let me tell you, okay? So I believe I have, where's the, did I have the Gallup pulled up? I thought, okay, we have it right here. The number one issue, the number one single issue right now, according to Gallup, as of April 2024, among voters is immigration. Immigration this year is consistently the top issue. I mean, you even go back. So economy in general in October was 14% to immigration's 13%. In November, it flipped 13 to 15, 14 to 16, 12 to 20, 12 to 28, 14 to 28, 17 to 27. A 10-point lead. Immigration is freaking people out. And the Libertarian Party, because, look, I'm sorry, the Libertarian Party does not concern itself with what voters want. It's a bunch of self-interested weirdos. The Mises Caucus, on the other hand, and those who supported them, actually stood for something, like Dave Smith. They said, let's create a unifying platform for what the Libertarian Party can bring to the American people. And I got people saying, what do you mean the Libertarian Party doesn't care about the voters? Ending the war in the Fed, that's what voters want. The voter doesn't know what the Fed is. And I agree with ending the Fed, criminal conspiracy to siphon money away from the workers, from the people. Sounds pretty communist, huh? But the Fed is disgusting. And ending the war, of course, how much money do we waste? Now young people are furious that we're dumping money overseas. But the average person wants to understand why their community center has been overrun by non-citizens. The average person wants to understand why there are tent cities popping up in their towns. And the Libertarian Party says, we don't care at all about you, voters. All we care about is that we can do whatever we want. The Democrats say, what's going to get us the most votes? The Republicans say, what's going to get us the most votes? They come out with their party platform every few years and say, here's our mission. And the Libertarians just sit in the corner of the room saying, I should be allowed to get naked in front of whoever I want. Businesses should be allowed to mandate vaccines. Not popular, by the way. They don't care about whether or not they can earn votes. And now people have said to me, they've said, Tim, parties should not pander. And my response is, no one is saying pander. What are the core principles of the Democratic Party? What are the core principles of the Republican Party? There are unifying principles as amorphous as these organizations are. The Libertarian Party has one, liberty. That's it. They have no unifying message. Is it open or closed borders? We don't know. Now you can say this. There are some issues that every libertarian agrees with. Ending the Fed, stopping the forever wars. Well, there you go. There are Republicans who disagree with other Republicans on a lot of issues. Some Republicans want to ban abortion outright at the federal level. Some want it to be at the states. Despite not agreeing, they work together and they decide what is the best path forward that supports the majority of the voters. The Libertarians say, we literally don't care. When you look to the American people, and the American people say immigration, even Joe Biden says, okay, we realize the American people do not want this. We're abandoning this issue. We want to find a way to enact policies that unify our party. The Libertarians exist outside of this. Call it principled, call it whatever you want. I call it being a loser. You want to fight a culture war. You want to fight for the values that you believe in. I can respect it. But you also need to win political power. And so the Libertarian Party could have come out and said, we respect that the American people do not want open borders. What we offer you then is ending the Federal Reserve, ending these forever wars, and making sure that money ends up back in your pocket. They could have chosen to go with the winning side. They didn't. Let's do this. Here's Chase Oliver, isidewith.com, and let's talk about who they've nominated. So some of these are obvious. Should gay couples have the same adoption rights? He says the voter base says yes. So this is a mix between the voter base and direct answers from the candidate himself. isidewith.com is basically a profile for political candidates, and they answer many of these themselves. Oliver is pro-choice. He says, I don't agree, but the government has no right. I don't agree, but the government has no right to ban it. The Libertarian Party support base, I'm not going to read those. Do you support the impeachment of Trump? No. Do you support the legalization of same-sex marriage? Chase Oliver voter base. Yes, take the government out of marriage and instead make it a religious decision. Interesting. Should there be more restrictions on the current purchase of a gun? Yes. Wait, what? Requires strict background checks, psychological testing, and training? That I didn't realize. I thought he was at least pro-gun. Wait, should there be more restrictions in the current process for purchasing a gun? Chase Oliver voter base. Yes. We have the sources here, and they say Chase Oliver voters. Analysis of answers from 221 voters that voted for Chase Oliver in the 2022 Georgia U.S. Senate election. I see. The candidate's support base disagrees with their political party on this issue. That's interesting. I suppose it's because I don't know if in 2022 he ran as a Democrat, but if that's the case, do you think his opinion changed here? Police should wear body cams. Should the government regulate the price of life-saving drugs? No. Let's see. Should gender identity be added to anti-discrimination laws? No. And I can respect that he doesn't want any civil rights law stuff. I'm not saying that I completely agree with it. Should trans athletes be allowed to compete against athletes that differ from their assigned sex at birth? No, despite the fact that he's tweeted before. Here we go. Nick Sorter says, the Libertarians nominate Chase Oliver, who has publicly called for trans kids, mask and vax mandates, men and women's sports, open borders. So we've got this one. He says, it seems Georgia is poised to become, this is 2022, another state which finds trans kids playing sports to be important enough to rise the need for legislation. It's targeting a small community for political points. It's a shame and will harm the small number of trans athletes. So clearly that's wrong. Happy that kids with cancer can get their health care. This is 2023. I'm disappointed that a legislature decided to limit therapies for trans and non-binary kids. The best, I'm paraphrasing. He says, limit therapies and care specifically for young people who may be trans or non-binary. The best way to export liberty is with an open border. Let money and people and goods move freely and let markets and people flourish. Border control in its current form is central planning that doesn't work. Abolish ICE. Let's talk about his vaccine mandate policies. Chase Oliver tweeted, give me autonomy and property rights, you mean. A business can decide to require workers to be vaccinated or limit customers to those of the vaccine. But no, government shouldn't make those decisions. This will hurt already struggling small business. Central planning sucks. This is a vaccine mandate stance verbatim. No one said vaccine mandate literally only can ever mean government. This is a lie from the left. When we say, I oppose political censorship, they go, it's not censorship when Twitter's doing it. They're a private business. I'm like, censorship can come from anyone. The government is not the arbiter of power. These people seem to think that the only power structures that exist are government. Private corporations can censor people. And if they're monopolies, they can censor all of the people. Hannah Cox says, this is not a pro-vaccine mandate stance. He explicitly says he's against government mandates, but supports private mandates. Okay. His position that a business can determine who they want on their property, whether that be a vaccine requirement or other criteria, is a pro-property rights and pro-capitalism stance. It's actually the correct position. No, it isn't. And I'll tell you why. Here's how the game is played. What we need is not some principled logic system that we think can properly regulate our system. What we need is logic, morals, and principles. And I've talked about this in great detail. There are a lot of people that try to play this game where they're like, you're a hypocrite because you think the government should regulate this, but not this. And I'm like, no, that's called my moral framework. Let me explain. Should the government be able to block people from getting medical treatments? Should the government be able to mandate medical treatments? Should the government intervene and criminally charge parents? Okay. Should the government be involved in medical decisions? The answer is yes. It depends on the medical system. So, for instance, I talk about trans kids and vaccines. Many on the right say, if a parent is trying to get transgender surgeries for their child, the government should stop them. On the left, they say the government should not stop them. The left says this is a violation of our rights and medical freedom. Then there's the vaccine. If the government tries to mandate a vaccine, they should not be allowed. But the government can interfere in the medical treatment of a child when it comes to sex changes and gender affirming, whatever you want to call it, but not vaccines. You see, the point is we have moral frameworks we abide by. The left has an inverted moral framework, meaning it's not as simple as to say the government should not be involved in medical care. Doesn't work because the left says they should. They think the government should take kids away from parents if the parents won't give them the gender-affirming care, they call it. There are states that are actively doing that. So it's not about bodily autonomy. It's about the moral framework of the base. It is about what constitutes the people. Let me tell you what I think. I think there was a time, because I don't remember exactly what I said about it, but I do recall being in the past saying if a business wants to say that you have to get a vaccine, fine, a business can do what they want. A typical libertarian position, my opinion, as of today, because I know you could probably pull up a bunch of different videos where in the past, there's different iterations of this evolving. Let me tell you exactly where I am today and why. Over the past several years, as Timcast has been growing, I've realized, holy crap, government sucks more than you realize. There are rules and regulations and laws. And people say, Tim, why does your company make me do this thing? I have no choice. If the company wants to exist with a business license, we have to abide by the law. There are OSHA standards. There's EEOC standards. If you want a business to exist, the boot is over your neck. Now, for most of these things, it's kind of whatever. But let me tell you where it gets real fun. Here's an example. I would like guns. I would like guns to be allowed ubiquitously. Second Amendment. I have said it over and over again. If you want to come to an event where I'm speaking on stage and people are armed, I don't care. Maybe my life is at risk in that situation. I'll make that decision. We were in Nashville. And we were talking with, we were going to do a live show with, it was at a honky tonk in Nashville. And there was a threat to my life. And I said, I don't care. I'll do it anyway. I will do the show. And, well, the issue was there are kids walking around on the street, busy downtown Nashville. And if I did, they could get shot and killed. So we ultimately said we couldn't do it. So we decided to have live events. And I've said my principles are Second Amendment, keep and bear arms. Here's the problem. So we go to the venue and we say, we're 2A. We don't want any restrictions. They say, well, then you can't be here. Why not? We'll get sued. Okay. So what do we do? We don't allow guns in our venue. Then we'll find another venue. Not a single venue will allow it. Then it gets to the best part. Let's say we do find a place. We got our own venue. We can do whatever we want. Well, the bank requires insurance on the building. Insurance won't let us have guns in the building. Are you kidding me? For large events. Insurance companies say, you're not bringing people in here with guns because you're increasing our risk and liability. Now, if you'd like to, that's fine. We're a private business. We won't insure you. Then our bank says, if you don't have insurance, we're calling in the mortgage and your business is forfeit. Your building is forfeit. And so we're like, wow, there's literally nothing we can do. Our security guys say, look, man, we know what you think about. We can't secure a building if you're allowing everyone to have guns inside. Sorry, no security. No security, no insurance, no business. Huh. Okay. Now that's a tough position because of the Constitution and all that. But let me tell you how it works with vaccine mandates. Chase Oliver is pro-vaccine mandate because this world that he lives in, I tell you what happens. By all means, the argument from the libertarians is there should be no government requirements for insurance, no EEOC, no Civil Rights Act, none of these things. Fine. But I tell you what still happens. Functionally, you cannot exist without insurance. We're in a building right now. Whole building costs like $2.8 million. If a fire were to happen, that's the end of Timcast. No way to recover from that. We need insurance. We pay our bill once a year. We pay it. It's like a monthly thing or a yearly thing, depending on how we're doing it. And then in the event tragedy happens, the company can exist. So we really need insurance. Plus, people could get hurt, all of this stuff. Okay, well, they've got restrictions and requirements. When you say businesses can require medical treatment, like a vaccine, what you're saying is you will open a business. You will be required by your lenders, because people don't have millions of dollars to snap their fingers and open a business, to have insurance. The insurance company during the pandemic said, you must require vaccines or we will drop you. Not all of them. A lot of them did. And so the businesses said, fine, we'll do it. The mandates were private. But these libertarians, they call them, don't know how to run a business. And they don't realize that when you say a private insurer, of which there are very few, can mandate vaccines, that's the free market. They then trickle it down to every small business. They will all require it. And you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to say, we don't care because we have no responsibility for anything pertaining to the vaccines. We just want to minimize risk, so do it or we don't insure you. Without insurance, you could lose everything in a moment's notice. Fine. The free market decides, I guess. You've no obligation to do it. But who no one can live that way in modern society. I think the government should do something and say, based on our Constitution, not the paperwork, what literally constitutes a body of people, we will not allow mandated medical treatments for private businesses the same way we do not allow you to discriminate based on race. See, I'm more of like a social liberal leaning libertarian. And I don't agree with the blanket free market thing. I think the Civil Rights Act was in many ways bad because of where it went, but in many ways good because of what it did, right? Where it goes is you get weird race communism stuff. The start of it is we are all taxpayers. We all live here. You are taking up space in the commons. You should accommodate reasonably anyone and not kick someone out based on immutable characteristics or beliefs so long as they're minding their own business and being peaceful. I think that's fair. You don't want someone coming in who's vaccinated or unvaccinated? That's none of your effing business to mandate a medical procedure. I disagree. I think there can be extenuating circumstances, but ultimately I disagree. The Libertarian Party, with this move in supporting open borders and vaccine mandates, have just declared to the American people they are non-viable. They will get the lowest they've gotten, I imagine. Unless they pull voters from Democrats. Well, here you go. Trump wins with the nomination of this far left Antifa. I mean, I'll just pull it up for you. Antifa supporting. There's a picture of him with a Stop Cop City sign, I think. Let's find that one. What is this one? He supports trans kids. He's pro-vaccine mandate. There's a picture of him holding a sign saying Stop Cop City somewhere. I don't know where it is. But it's literally the top of the thing. Stop Cop City. There you go. You probably saw it already. Yeah, that's Antifa. He's called himself anti-fascist. Anti-fascist is a buzzword for a communist militant. And he tries to argue, oh, dude, get out of here. You're a cult member. Okay. I hope the Libertarian Party pulls as many Democrats as possible. And then all the Mises Caucus goes and votes Trump. Congratulations, Trump, you win. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.